планирующим крылатым блоком.
In front of a massive video screen, Putin revealed several weapon systems. Among them, illustrations of a new icbm, a new cruise missile, and a nuclear torpedo that can cross oceans. The point of all of them, to dodge detection, evade missile defenses. And even if it was watched closely by defense experts the world over, and it surely was, the first audience was domestic. As Chris Brown tells us from Moscow, this is an election year.
To hear Vladimir Putin tell it, the cruise missile carried by this rocket is basically unstoppable. Flying at 20 times the speed of sound, it can zig and zag and deliver a nuclear warhead to any target in the world. It goes like a meteorite to its target, boasted Putin, like a fireball.
Нас никто не слушал.
Then, in reference to the United States pulling out of the anti-ballistic missile treaty, Putin added ominously, "They kept ignoring us, so listen to us now." It was a provocative Cold War-style threat, and the audience of lawmakers and business leaders loved it. They'd gathered for the annual State of the Nation address, but with a presidential election in just a few weeks, it was also a chance for Russians to hear what they could expect from 6 more years of Putin. And the answer was clearly a bigger, more aggressive military. I hope all the things I have said today will sober up any potential aggressor, including expanding NATO or moving it closer to our borders. It is a certainty Putin will be re-elected, but low voter turnout could taint his win. Evoking the image of Russia as a superpower again may rouse people to come out. And for some Moscow commuters we talked to, the saber rattling worked. I really like the military part, said Yelena Varanya. We've had it up to here. They've surrounded us on all sides. But others say they don't buy it. I don't understand the logic, said Konstantin Malikov. We have nothing in this country, but our military is great. Why do we need this? Putin did promise to cut poverty rates in half and to spend more on health care, but there were few specifics. Rather, the main point today was to yet again stoke fears that Russia's enemies are closer and more dangerous than ever, and most Russians seem ready to continue believing that. Chris Brown, CBC News, Moscow.
That video Putin showed during his speech made it clear that one of those enemies is the United States. So how did Washington react? The CBC's Paul Hunter has that.
The animation is sobering. Russian missiles that could circumnavigate the planet. Nuclear-powered cruise missiles hugging the terrain that could fly effectively forever, with targets that could be anywhere, including, as the animation highlights, Central Florida. When that segment ended, Vladimir Putin's audience broke into applause.
It was certainly unfortunate to have watched the video animation that depicted a nuclear attack on the United States. We don't regard that as the behavior of a responsible international player.
The U.S. said today it was unsurprised by Putin's claims. If he's really developing such weaponry, it said he's violating international treaties. And though the Pentagon today dismissed any current threat to the U.S.,
we're prepared and we're ready.
The rhetoric and those images are all unsettlingly familiar.
Welcome to the new arms race, same as the old arms race. Here we go. This is no bluff. Putin says he's not bluffing, and he's right. He can do this. There aren't many things that Russia can do well. Build big missiles and with large nuclear weapons on them that can destroy our country. They've had a lot of practice.
In other words, even Putin's intent ought not be ignored, nor the danger of a tit-for-tat build-up in the U.S. Consider Donald Trump's State of the Union address just a few weeks ago.
We must modernize and rebuild our nuclear arsenal, hopefully never having to use it, but making it so strong and so powerful that it will deter any acts of aggression.
On Trump's aspirations,
Putin is answering that, and he's answering it convincingly.
Should we be freaked out?
We should be freaked out.
It's the threat of a buildup the world has seen before that risks growing and growing until both sides agree to stop. Unless they don't. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Well, some nuclear policy experts say Putin could actually be bluffing. None of the weapon systems are actually deployed. Now, some may never be deployed. Still, much of their power comes from simply showing them. Nukes are political weapons designed to send messages. Funny how the U.S. announced its own nuclear posture review just last month.
We must keep America's deterrent credible by making it modern.
Это просто фантастика.
So there's an element of theater to all of this.
I'd say all of it is real and all of it is theater. There was enough real footage in there, and it chimes with enough information that we already have.
Take Putin's new nuclear torpedo. Russian state TV showed a copy of its specifications while covering a meeting more than 2 years ago. Not an accident, say the experts.
If you want to convince another country that you're capable of retaliating against them, you have to show them what you've got. Deterrence operates in the mind of an enemy.
Deterrence, just a fancy word for fear of what these weapons can do. The force of the atom bomb that demolished Hiroshima was around 15 kilotons. The force of maybe 15,000 tons of dynamite. The force of a modern nuclear weapon ranges up to 50 megatons, and there are a lot of them. North Korea has maybe 15. Israel, India, Pakistan, the UK, China, and France all have a lot more. And now, take a deep breath. The US and Russia stockpiles dwarf them all. So at some point, the "we have more than you" posturing doesn't really mean much, except just maybe a greater chance of a mishap, a political misinterpretation, causing a country on a hair trigger to pull it.
You always have to wonder how it's going to be operated, how they will keep the weapons safe. There are a lot of unknowns.
So after all that, you know, the oddity is that the raw number of nuclear weapons has actually dropped since the Cold War. And I mean, maybe it doesn't sound like it from all these political pronouncements. But, you know, technically, both Russia and the U.S. are still committed to arms reductions. You know, they entered a new treaty back in 2011, but that expires in a few years, and probably all bets are off.